Welcome to the channel. My name is Crawford. This is Virginia's for Lowriders. We're back out in the garage. We are working on the Mazda project. We are trying to get it to the point where this thing is basically daily drivable. We've been working on this truck for about a year now, and we are pretty close to the point of just hopping in it, fired it up, and driving it wherever we want. We're down to a lot of small details, at least until it gets cold outside, or colder, not 100 degrees during the day, to where we can actually have some time to paint this. But for now, we're not worried about the cosmetic paint side of the whole ordeal. We're just focusing on all of the little bits and pieces that make projects take forever. We've been focusing on small things like getting the radiator fan to work and getting all of the everything to function with the key and the lights to work and all of the other things, and this week's no different. We are getting back on trying to finish up all of the very, very small details, like we have no way of filling it up. For instance, the bed is floppy, as you can see, at least just in the front. The rear, I made supports for it about a year ago. That was the first thing we did, was tackle the bed, pre-deciding to body drop it, which was probably a bad idea. But today, I think we're going to tackle this. We're going to try and get them floppy bed sides no longer floppy. But before we get into that, exciting news. I know I don't show a lot of emotion and I'm kind of like a monotoned person, but believe me, I'm excited. We hit 3,000 subscribers this week, and that is awesome. And like I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, we're doing a giveaway. We'll be announcing the giveaway winners when I get home from work on Monday afternoon. That means that anybody that's watching this video that's never been here before has a chance also to win. I'm trying to find a good position picker thing online that just picks from the comments to where it has nothing to do with me. It is solely up to some random computer system. Like I had mentioned in the previous giveaway video, there's 3 positions that will be winning t-shirts and tumblers and stickers and whatnot. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Follow the instructions, and you'll have a chance to win some Virginia t-shirts, even though I don't have one on today for some reason. You gotta support your boys. But we're going to start with that on the bed sides. We might try to make a filler neck today. I want to come up with a game plan for this roll pan. I don't know if I'll have it finished by tomorrow, but a general idea of how it's going to be laid out and starting to do that. I have the roll cage tubing. If you saw 3 episodes ago, we're putting a small 80s style four-wheel drive roll bar in there. I like to get all that stuff prepped and at least get that thing tack welded together. That seems like a pretty good list of semi-achievable things. Like I said, I don't think the roll pan's going to get welded to the truck, but we can come up with a cool idea of maybe how it'll be laid out at least. I have some ideas that at least I'll shoot to y'all and see what y'all think. But we'll start by trying to scrounge up some material to make these things, and we'll go from there. Well, it's been 3 hours, I think. That when I talk about the A.D.D thing, I'm for real. It was daylight when we brought the truck in here and we got the tools out and talked about that. And I got distracted. And I was like, I'll just weed eat. And I was like, I'll just mow the grass. And then I was like, oh, well, I gotta do some stuff outside. And then bouncing around. But we're back out here. It's almost 10 o'clock at night, and we're gonna try and get something done. Got an idea for the bed mounts, which I could have swore that I already made. The rear ones are already on there. I could have swore I made the front ones and I didn't put them on because of the battery was going where it was going, if that makes sense. But regardless, I can't find them, so we're going to make some new ones. This is the wrench, for lack of a better term, that you use to lower a spare tire on a full-size truck down. It unfolds and goes through to the crank mechanism thing. I scrap a lot of vehicles and I save random things like this for instances exactly like this. We're going to turn that into the stiffeners for the bed, because they are very similar to something that you would see on a factory vehicle, but they're made out of junk. So let's just say you're doing this, you're tackling the same thing, and you have no mounts to speak of. I took one off of the back just to get a reference and a refresher of what I made the last time. Just measuring it out alone really won't work. Like, for instance, this bed sticks past the body 3/4 of an inch right now, so I need it to go in about that much and be attached. So I kind of just make these off of almost like a feel rather than measuring it out and making it exact the first time, because you're going to have to tweak it to get the bed. You're basically aligning panels and gapping things at the same time as making the mount itself. So I'm going to cut this slightly longer because of the way that this is set up. It's going to be a little bit longer than the ones that are in the rear, and then we'll just start beating on some stuff. You do not need an anvil, and you do not need a torch to do this. You can get by with one of those little, which I can, you can get by with a map gas version of this, and you do not necessarily need that torch. So you can do this on the cheap. You can find them things on Marketplace very cheap all the time. This is just what I got. Alright, we got both of them made up. They go in slightly different angles since the way that the bed mounts are. It's slightly different angles, backwards basically. So I'm gonna try and get these bolted up real quick, and we'll see what it's looking like. It's already kind of late. It's like 11 o'clock. I don't know why that took me so long. So I'm gonna add a little clip in from Monday. Monday I came home. I did my things that I needed to do around the house, including an old people nap. And then I needed to record the giveaway video. So I came out here, started talking. Cars are going by, making a bunch of noise. My neighbor's working on his house. It just wasn't working out. So I hop in the truck. The clip is me realizing that something just fell off or out of the truck. And I had no idea what it was. I pull over the next spot that I can, which is another 5 miles down the road, and I look under there, and I'm missing a bed mount, one of these guys. You'll see on my face that I'm concentrating on the rearview mirror, and I'm like, I'm contemplating if the truck is going to fall apart while I'm driving, and if I should pull over immediately on the 2-lane back road. So I pull over in this parking lot, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wow, I lost a bed mount completely. That noise was the bolt coming out and the washers hitting the ground. You can hear, if you listen really close, you can hear the little ching, ching, ching. So, came home, I'm like, that sucks. I guess I didn't tighten that down. Hopped on Amazon, ordered more of this plastic stock stuff. I'm like, I'll have to make a new bed mount this weekend, as much as that sucks. James came over last night. I'm cleaning the garage while we're hanging out, and I found the bed mount underneath my workbench. I didn't make any extra, so this really doesn't make any sense. I have no idea what fell off the truck. I can't figure it out, and I already have the bed, or I still have the bed mount. So I don't know. Very strange, but you'll see in the clip exactly what I'm talking about. Buddy asks. So in that clip, the only thing that I can figure, because I just got under this thing and looked at every nut and bolt for the 4-link, everything that holds the gas tank on, the air management stuff, everything. Like, what I heard was clearly like, it sounded like a washer, like one of the big washers that I use to shim these up. The only thing I can figure is I left a washer sitting on the frame rail, and what I heard was it finally falling off of the frame rail, and I don't know why I didn't put that last bed mount in there. I only made 6. Why would I put 5 on, and why would it be under my bench? The whole situation's really weird, but I don't know. We'll get back to doing what we were doing. So I'll try to get a shot of this. A little hard to see with it being up in here, but very, very simple. And by doing that and pulling the body line in, I was able to make this wheel not look as nearly as sunken, kind of like the front is, which again, I'm cool with the front being like that because I can float and steer and be perfectly fine. But the rear, it's a much tighter fitment now. But bedside's nice and sturdy. You got both sides installed. I gotta tweak this one a little bit, but again, the fitment is significantly better now. But it's like 11:15, and I probably shouldn't be out here. No, it's 11:42. I shouldn't be out here beating and banging. We will pick this back up in the morning. It is the next day. I got the truck in the garage enough to shut the door. Didn't turn the air conditioning on last night, so I came out here. It was already 100 degrees. So I've been outside doing things since it was just as hot outside as it was inside. And I think we're going to tackle the filler neck first, which sounds like a pretty simple thing, but the bolts broke off, or actually the entire housing thing. This thing broke whenever I tried to remove it from the wood truck. My buddy Sean sent me this one. It needs a little love. It's got some cracks in it, so we're going to fix this first. I have to remove the rest of the broken pieces off of the bed. Hopefully that goes somewhat smooth. Then I have the hard as a rock 40-year-old filler neck that Sean gave me that might be okay. I have the one that I cobbled together on the old bed. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do first. So we're gonna hopefully be able to make this take gas again, because that would be nice. It's one of the things. I don't want to go too far from the house. Like I said last week when I was driving it around, hopefully the gas gauge just doesn't work and I'm not going to be pushing soon. Turns out the gas gauge was working, and it had no gas in it at all, because I put 5 gallons in it yesterday with a funnel, and the gauge went up. And Friday night, I took it to the dollar store and I let it run and idle for a while, and while James and I were standing there letting it do its thing, the fans kicked on. So that switch worked. So we're like, okay, cool, turn the truck off, turn the truck back on. After 10 minutes or whatever, let it idle, starts to creep up the gauge. That thing's crap. I bought a new hose. I'm just gonna take that little T thing off that we put on there last week, and I'll figure out something later. I can just run it on the switch for now. The switch is, or the fan comes on when you turn the key on, so technically I just leave it on, turn it off whenever I need to. Not a big deal. I don't know what it was the last couple days, but being all over the place and not being able to concentrate, went to do a 20-point turn to get the truck in here till I could shut the door. I didn't realize, because it was pitch black outside, my weed eater was in front of the truck. I'm not a really big electric tool guy, but I was just thinking to myself yesterday, wow, this electric weed eater's been kicking butt for the last couple years. And then I proceed to run it over and bend it. It still works. So I gotta try and fix that at some point. I don't know what's going on lately. Terrible. But we'll get the plastic staple gun thing out wherever I put that, and we'll try and fix that housing thing real quick. So I do not recommend buying this kit. I bought this back whenever the kits first became a thing on Amazon, and I thought, this stuff actually didn't come with it, I thought that it having this little electric box would make it more universal and easier to use, and it was necessary, and there was a reason that it cost more, because you could change the heat settings, and it turns out it doesn't matter. I bought the cheap one. I'll show a picture of it on the screen. I bought that cheap one for work just to try it out, because we have a lot of broken fenders and random pieces of plastic, that some of the stuff you can't even buy anymore, and I use it a lot. The cheap $15 one works just as good. It's exactly the same thing, except it doesn't have a massive box on it. The only thing that's good about this one is clearance. It's really small. Like, it's, I don't know, it's like the size of an electric toothbrush or something, rather than the other one's like a full-on pew-pew. So just like everything else I do, I buy the things, and I buy all of the things that go with the things that I bought. I went a little overboard with the staples, but all of these staples have different purposes. There are staples that are thicker, that are thinner, and they all have different shapes. Squiggly lines, inside corners, outside corners, skinny inside corners. They're all different. So these things are very, very cheap when you buy them online. Like, you could probably buy everything in this box for like 20 bucks on Amazon. And again, that's why I get into the things that I do. So I have to find something that matches these shapes, or at least a straight one that'll fill the gap, and we'll be fixing the whole thing from the back side rather than the front, because this needs to be flush against the sheet metal. I'll show you what I mean by inside corner. So this is an inside corner one. If you're trying to brace this corner, you could melt this whole thing inside of that edge, and it matches perfectly, which we will probably use one of those right now. These things are super straightforward. Just a matter of putting them in a little hole. I'll go ahead and waste one of these so you can see what it's actually doing. You just hold it down. You can see the smoke rolling off of that thing. You can actually see it changing colors there. It'll get cherry red, but we're not trying to do all that. Actually, there's really nothing wrong with that one. I'll go ahead and use it It's a matter of, hopefully y'all can see that, melting this till it enters the plastic. I like to push it in, and as it's cooling, give it a slight twist. It doesn't protrude through the other side, and that thing is pretty tough now and shouldn't go anywhere, hopefully. And now we gotta find something to fill in these weird areas. It'd be nice if we could get underneath that, but it's not really an option here. I think if I was going to purchase one of these and nothing else, like one pack of these, most of the time you can buy the cheap guns that come with their own staples too. I think that this is the most common one that I use on pretty much everything. It's got enough surface area and it grabs enough material to cover most things. This doesn't get hot until you press the button. Like, this is completely cool when we just put that staple in. Try and position this thing where it'll actually grab some stuff. You gotta be careful you don't go to the other side, like push all the way through, which does happen. These things are great on pieces that they don't make anymore. And the only way you can buy this is you can buy just a plastic thing, but it's like $60. And Sean was nice enough to send me an OEM one that's old, but I don't feel like that piece of plastic is worth 60 of my dollars. So this is another inside corner. Kind of maneuver that guy in there. Trying to melt it into multiple things at a time. So all I gotta do, cut these ends off. This is like pretty simple stuff, but for people that have never seen it before, make sure you wear safety glasses and shoot them away from you, because I can hear them hitting the wall on the other side of the garage, which is again not very big, but they're still moving pretty quick. A panel that you don't really care about, this next step is not necessary at all, but if it's something that you can see and you can feel, you can use a normal grinder, you don't have to use one of these. Grind down the ends because some things are sharp. Again, this part's not necessary. Like, these are really cheap on Amazon. It's a kit. It's meant for welding plastic. It comes with a bunch of filler material. I'm just gonna blend these over a little bit to give it that extra, hopefully it doesn't go back to the way it was. Fingers crossed. Which is kind of hard to do if there's any metal sticking up. This is straightforward. Make a mess of it. Goop the plastic around a little bit. If I spent a little time on it, like if this was the front and you really spent your time on it, you could make it not look like anything has ever happened. Again, this is really unnecessary, considering the fact that this is behind a door and nobody ever sees it but you in your own vehicle. So if you wanted to, you can always go back and sand that down, but just at first glance, there's no crack, there's nothing crazy. This part's stout again. I don't have to worry about that ear breaking off unless I abuse it. Well, I attempted to snap some vice grips on there and turn those, but they're they're just rusted together. So I hit O'Reilly's and picked up some universal hose. I don't know if this is radiator hose or fuel hose, but regardless, fuel barely touches this. It touches it when it goes in the tank, and once it's in the tank, it can't come back up. So I'm not worried about it being fuel safe because it has fuel on it for seconds at a time. The problem that we have now, as you can see, the filler neck points down, and it is below the height of the inlet for the tank, and the tank points up. So I need to come up with a way to fill this gap. This is what I had on the other bed, and this is just like a 70s Ford radiator hose, I believe. So I need to come up with a way to maybe cut that and put a 45 in it, and then connect it to that somehow, hopefully with the new hose we bought. It's been a long road of things that caused way more work than they should have to make this factory tank work. And of course it wouldn't be right if it was easy at the very end. This is gonna take up a little bit more time than I was originally anticipating. So I had some leftover stainless steel that y'all just saw me cut up. That was one of the random U's that came in the kit that I bought to build the exhaust for the truck. So I cut it into like this probably 40-ish degree angle, and I cut the end of the factory filler neck off. So what we're gonna do is get that lined up to where it points directly at that gas tank. And we'll pull this assembly off, weld it together, and we should be okay. I know they're dissimilar metals and it's not really something you're supposed to do, but I think we'll be alright for a filler neck. Not like this receives any kind of stress or anything weird. If it doesn't work out later on, I'll just make another one. I'm gonna attempt to fusion weld this together. Not sure if it's gonna like it or not though. I imagine once I get to this brazed part, it's really not gonna like it. But the gas tank filler neck is now completely functional and installed. Kind of hard to see because I let the truck back down for some reason. But let's move on to the next thing. I think we can... But we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. I think we can mess with the roll bar for a little while. I got an idea for the roll pan. It's going to be very time consuming, and this video's already getting kind of long and it's already getting kind of late in the day. We'll work on the roll bar a little bit, and then I'll explain my idea for the roll pan, and we'll go from there and probably wrap it up for the day. Well, I just ate lunch and came back out here and edited everything I had so far, and I am fully convinced that my GoPro hates me. I do not know what it is with this thing, but I apologize for the last like 8 minutes of footage for having terrible audio quality. But the gas tank filler neck is now completely functional. installed. Kind of hard to see because I let the truck back down for some reason. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. I think we can mess with the roll bar for a little while. I got an idea for the roll pan. It's going to be very time consuming, and this video's already getting kind of long, and it's already getting kind of late in the day. We'll work on the roll bar a little bit, and then I'll explain my idea for the roll pan, and we'll go from there. And probably wrap it up for the day. So I got the uprights for the little roll bar and the tubing notcher here. This is the stand we built a couple weeks ago. We're going to be notching the very end of that thing. I don't know if you're familiar with tubing notchers, but to be able to do really weird bends inside of a tubing notcher and notch in any which way whatsoever is pretty awesome. I think that I have one side of this that's a little long. I'm gonna take some measurements because I definitely just eyeballed it when I cut it. So we're looking at about 29 and a half. Kind of hard to use this super jacked up floor for precise measurements here. Yeah, it's actually the same, which is weird. I could have swore it was off. It looks even from the back today also. Maybe I just had something stuck under one side of the tubing or something. It's kind of weird. Alright, so I actually cut these, welded them on, and decided I didn't like it and cut them back off. Redid the notches. Almost broke the window, and now we're welding them back on again. I decided I want to bring them inward on the bed a little bit, almost in line with the frame rail. I think it looks a little nicer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tack weld this side on and then try to match it on the other side. At least that's the plan. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Again, this isn't fully welded, and I didn't plan on getting it finished today, but it's semi-permanent so far. I cut the angle for the bottom of the feet, and then I ended up, it's kind of hard to tell, but these bars have a slight curve to them, which it doesn't pick it up on camera at all. Initially, when I cut them, I was trying to rotate them in, and then once I got it in the truck, and I didn't really care for the way it looked, so I need to recut these guys, which isn't a big deal because whatever plate system that I come up with to mount them to, I need to trim them regardless. But yeah, it looks pretty cool so far. Not 100% sold on it still, but I really need to I really need to take this thing down the road and see what it looks like in a parking lot. It looks big in the garage on camera for some reason. But I'm going to explain my idea with this. I think we're going to wrap it up. It's already like 6 o'clock. This is my idea. This is the original roll pan piece off of the bed. As you can see, it's pretty rough. That was one of the reasons it got cut off, because the material between this and the bed was total trash. In this theme of keeping the truck sort of stock appearance, I got this idea. To me, this just looks goofy. I'm assuming this is like some kind of European license plate size of some sort, and they made these trucks everywhere. So our license plates are exactly a foot long. I'm thinking, I'll just say, just to make it easier, because it's such a weird place to measure from. Let's just say that's a foot. That's 6 inches. And this side lines up differently. That one's almost at the end of that light. This one is a quarter away through the light. Why do they do these things? Oh, we're just going to ignore the light. We can always fill that hole. Let's just say that's 6 inches there. Just a rough line. This isn't, I'm going to cut it, but I'm not going to cut directly on the line. I'll cut somewhere in here to get y'all an idea of what I'm thinking. If it works, I think it'll be pretty cool. This is factory mounting. Remove that guy. Bring this. Keep in mind, this is our line that we'll eventually be using. Line up our lines, and we have a little tiny version. And I will cut this, metalwork this. I'm going to leave as much of this edge, even though I kind of screwed myself over here. Most likely I'll be cutting it on the edge and welding the other sheet metal directly to the edge, and hopefully I can make it look good. This is pretty thick material compared to the 16 gauge or 18 gauge that I used, but I think that's the plan. I think that'll look pretty cool. This down there, I don't know. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. I wanted to say again, thank you for all the subscribers. It's awesome that we hit 3,000, and hopefully we keep going up from there. I've had a lot of people ask me recently if I'm going to any shows in any time soon with the truck, because they'd be interested in seeing the truck in person. I know that there's not a lot of my viewers that live in Virginia, from the people that have commented about it, where they live and all that. I just wanted to throw out there that I'll be at a sort of local to me, it's about an hour drive or so, a show in Woodford, Virginia. It's called Attitude Check, and I just looked at their thing. It is a week long. It is from the 12th to the 18th. I will be there probably the 17th or the 18th. I'm not 100% sure. Those are Saturday and Sunday, 17th and 18th. So write that in your calendar if you want to meet me, if you want to see the truck. I should be there. I'll probably know the sooner I get closer to that date, I'll know for sure. But again, if you've never been here before, I appreciate if you subscribe and do all the normal YouTube-y things and the likes and the comments and all of that. And I will see y'all next Sunday. We are here every single Sunday. There's a new video every Sunday. Or at least getting something done. Maybe not bagging an entire vehicle in a weekend, but we're getting it done. We're chipping away at it. We're doing some weekend warrior type stuff. Free time. I'm rambling. I will see y'all next weekend.